Broadcasting now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session of DEMOFEST, which is entitled Demo Automation Strategies with Garin Hess. DEMOFEST is hosted by Consensus. We help pre-sales teams to scale with intelligent demo automation. We'll be recording the session and posting the links to the recordings in about 2 weeks to the Scaling Pre-Sales and Sales Engineering LinkedIn group. So I encourage you to join the group. I'll be dropping that link in the chat here in just a few minutes, just so you can get to know and a little bit more about your presenter. Garin is the founder and CEO here at Consensus. He's a serial entrepreneur whose career has been in enterprise software, including several roles acting as a sales engineer. And I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Hope you all learn a lot. During the presentation, he'll have about 30 to 40 minutes to present. And during it, if you have any questions along the way, we have a Q&A feature there that helps us manage those so we can get to them at the end. So rather than dropping them in the chat, if you have questions, if you drop them in the Q&A, then it'll be easy for us to get to them at the end. With that, Garin, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Taylor. And want to say welcome to everybody. Really appreciate the opportunity to share with you. Oh, first I was gonna talk about these headsets I got on because I get questions about these all the time. So these are indeed aviation headsets. And by the way, Taylor, let me know if you have any trouble hearing me. I just got a warning that my internet connection was unstable. So we'll see if that holds up okay. But yeah, so these headsets, when we actually went remote a couple of years ago, long before the pandemic, and just because we saw that we were more productive and we enjoyed more working from home most of the time. So we actually tested 21 different headsets. So I thought I'd share this little tip right off the bat because I've got them on right here and they've got the best noise canceling microphone. So if you want to look up this article on LinkedIn, in fact, let me just put it in the chat here in case you're interested in this. It's one of the best tools for having a quality conversation no matter what's going on. Dogs barking. I should have brought my dog in to have him bark so you could hear. But this has little to do with demo automation, actually nothing to do with demo automation. So let me just post this in the chat and then we'll move on to our main topic here. So when we talk about demo automation here, Consensus has been focused on scaling pre-sales and intelligent demo automation for about 6 years. And we're very pleased to have been recognized by Gartner with a cool vendor recognition in the sales enablement category in 2019. And if any of you are Gartner customers and you want to see the report, you can look it up or you can ask anybody on our staff, including myself. We're happy to send it to you. So we help our customers really recapture all the lost time that goes into repetitive demos that really technology can handle. And we're going to spend some time on talking about the role of demo automation versus where it plays a part and where it doesn't play a part. But really what we're going to talk about here is just what is demo automation, how does it work, and how does it, and how does it relate to the B2B sales process? I just want to mention that I'm really enthusiastic and passionate about buyer enablement. And there's a book that I've been working on for about 3 years. It's coming out in the middle of June called Selling is Hard, Buying is Harder. And this really focuses on how buyer enablement can drive digital sales and shorten the sales cycle by a totally different approach to B2B sales. And it really puts the focus on enabling the different stakeholders in the buying group and helping them make an effective purchase decision rather than what we do as salespeople. And there's a framework involved and so on. So I just thought I'd mention that in case that's of any interest. I'll share some of the principles just really lightly in this part of this conversation because this whole company started really trying to figure out how to enable buyers more effectively. So I want to point out that our goal as a company is not to in any way eliminate sales engineering. In fact, it's really to make sales engineering more effective. Sales engineers are just inundated with things to do. And this is just one way of viewing how that might look for a sales engineer. What we're really trying to do is help elevate and free up time for sales engineers to do more of what they love to do and what they do best, which I would argue is solution consulting, highly technical demos, customized demos, POCs, and other things like that. And I think there is a dissatisfaction in a lot of sales engineering roles when they have to spend a lot of time doing repetitive demos. I'm just curious if you are ever dissatisfied or have people on your team that are dissatisfied with doing repetitive demos, if that is a problem or something that is frustrating, or you feel like there's an opportunity there, just type that in the chat. Just type yes in the chat. That would be interesting to see. So this is something we hear from a lot with sales engineers, and it's not only about creating a better, more productive and high-performing sales engineering team, but it's about increasing morale. Oh, and look, Doug just mentioned I've lost employees for that reason. Well, that's exactly the point here. It's both things. It's really to make your organization more efficient, and it's to help customers get what they need, the buyers, right? Enable the buyers with what they need faster, make the sales team happier, and make your own team happier, make yourselves happier. So the goal here, again, is to help you as a sales engineer or your team really drive exponential results with existing resources. That's our whole goal. So I just want to point that out, because sometimes when we talk about automation, there's this fear that somehow automation is going to steal my job. It couldn't be further from the truth. On the other hand, if you don't learn how to use digital tools, as Kevin O'Brien pointed out in the keynote yesterday, the industry is kind of going to move on without you. And so you'll become more and more valuable to your organization as you learn to use tools like Consensus. So with that said, I want to jump into a story. So Mark Green yesterday talked about stories. I love stories. In fact, I have this whole idea for storybooks for kids. If and when I get to retire, one of the things I'm going to do is write a series of stories, because I've told them to my kids as they're growing up, and lots of other kids, and they're about the real origins of other stories, like the Three Little Pigs. What's the real story behind the Three Little Pigs, or Little Miss Muffet? And so anyway, I really enjoy stories. I'm going to tell you a story, not like Mark Green did, but this story has to do with trying to sell into Oracle. And we had closed an entry deal inside Oracle, and this was our main champion. His name's Todd, and Todd had us in one small team, and we wanted to expand in this division. And I was trying to get a hold of his boss, and his boss name is Oliver. And Oliver wouldn't give us the time of day. And we tried every which way. Todd actually introduced by email. Oliver wasn't responding. Then one day Todd said, hey, do you, we want some more information about the analytics that Consensus provides. And I happened to see his question. I was there in the office early in the morning. So I shot over an automated demo about this, because it was a frequently asked question. Tell us more about analytics. So I sent over this demo, and within 24 hours, it was shared with about a dozen people, viewed and shared, including Oliver. So here's the target prospect stakeholder that we wanted to engage. He spent 5.5 minutes there. It took me a couple minutes to send it out, 76 minutes of total engagement in 24 hours. And this is the power of using intelligent demo automation to discover and engage the buying group in a way that helps not only with expansions, but also helps shorten the sales cycle, which I'll address later. But basically what happened is we reached out and said, hey, Oliver, you just engaged with our demo. Wondering if you have any questions. He responded back right away. Yeah, actually I do. And 6 weeks later, we're in his office in London, closing an expansion. So this is the power of using demo automation in the sales process. And as pre-sales experts, your goal is to help provide those salespeople with the types of demos that they need to create these kinds of experiences for their prospects and customers. So one of the big challenges is that the buyer behavior is changing. So this is research by Gartner that you may have seen before. But basically, they're talking about how buyers are spending less and less time with vendors. So they give 17% of their time with you as a vendor. And if they're talking to 2 or 3 vendors, then maybe you only get 5% of their time. So what are you doing to be part of the conversation all the rest of the time? And the whole goal with buyer enablement is to equip the champion to sell for you. So who really does the selling on the inside of the organization? They do. We as salespeople don't actually do the selling. We do, I would say, we try to do the selling to that initial champion, but that champion is the one that's running around trying to sell for you. And they're not very good at it because they're not trained to do it. So one of the goals is to help equip them with the right kinds of materials and content with an interactive video demo to share with other stakeholders. So behind that initial person, there are all these stakeholders that we call the buying group. What's interesting about the buying group is the challenge for them, and in particular the champion, is more complicated than ever. I would say that my main goal with the book that I shared with you, for example, is my whole goal is I'm very passionate about making things easier and more productive. And buying B2B software is insanely complicated, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. It's never going to be as simple as buying, some consumer item on Amazon. But Amazon completely changed the world by making buying easier for consumers. And my goal is to try to change the world by making buying B2B software easier. And so part of that is in helping to, in the demo part of the experience. So again, the problem is we think of the buying process as being pretty straightforward like this, but it's really got all these detours, and not to mention when you add all the different stakeholders involved, it gets super complicated. CEB, which is now acquired by Gartner, did this research years ago. It's just published out in a Harvard Business Review journal a few years ago. It shows that when you have multiple buyers in the buying group, the likelihood to purchase drops initially by 25% when you bring in one extra stakeholder. And it drops another 25% when you get down here where the average buying group size is. And this was clear back in 2013, they did this research. And research now shows that the buying group size is north of 8. So you think about 8 people getting together to make a decision. But the point is that you've got a 50 percentage point gap in terms of the likelihood of purchase if you can enable those buyers more effectively. So that's really our goal as a sales group, and pre-sales in particular can play a big role because one of the biggest parts of the buying process is product and solution education. So another bit of research from Gartner, they queried buyers and what do they want most from vendors, and this is kind of how it came out. This is in 2017. Demonstrations, case studies, value assessment tools. These are all important. These are the things they need to make an effective decision. Now, another big challenge with demos and buyers and pre-sales in particular is that buyers want these demos and sales want to give them the demos. But pre-sales is too often pulled in and just asked to do demos without any warning, any qualification. And in the sales engineer compensation and workload study that we did earlier this year, 30%, well, the majority of the industry said that 30% or more of their demos were unqualified. And 1 in 5 pre-sales teams said that more than half are underqualified. So I'm curious again, if you have this problem in your organization of underqualified or unqualified demos, just type in yes or something to that effect in the chat. This seems to be, Nick Meyer says, hell yes. Okay, that yes, exclamation point from Wesley. So this is one of what seems to be almost a universal challenge in the customers that we talk to. And again, it's not only a productivity issue, it's really a morale issue as well. It's not only frustrating to do repetitive demos, but when you have to do repetitive demos to people who are highly unqualified, and as a sales engineer, you're thinking, what else could I be doing with my time? There's so many other better things. In fact, the whole genesis for the idea of intelligent demo automation at Consensus came in my last startup, my last technology company. I think it was probably about 2010. I was doing, our sales team had been completely inundated, kind of like we're doing now, and I started taking some sales conversations myself. And I did 6 demos back to back one day without stop. And I just remember thinking I was exhausted, and they were all early stage demos. And I just thought, wow, I just did pretty much the same thing over and over. I adjusted it based on what I knew about the customer and my attempts at discovery and things. But I just did the same demo over and over. There's got to be some way to automate this. We tried posting a few videos to YouTube. We tried sending out webinar links and things like that, recorded webinars, but it just really wasn't we couldn't tell who was watching them. They weren't personalizing to each person or prospect. And I was just frustrated. And I knew that some, I didn't know at the time how many, but I knew that many of those people were just kicking the tires and they weren't very well qualified. And I just thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And that's where the genesis of this whole endeavor began. So this is just more of the data from the study. You can see that some people say even 70% of their demos are unqualified. I mean, that's 1 in 20 organizations say 60% of their demos are unqualified. It's an astonishing amount of opportunity here to become more productive. Even Peter Cohen mentions that he asked his own audience, how many of your demos are wasted or premature, and he got a range of 30 to 50% back, which really matches our own results in our own study. So we came up with this idea that if sales shouldn't accept every lead that comes from marketing, and they should only accept, say, marketing qualified leads, and there's a certain qualification, why should pre-sales accept every prospect that comes from sales? And we came up with this stage, this lead qualification stage, called the demo qualified lead, which is effectively what are the qualifications to get a live pre-sales person involved. And this is just one of the areas that we help our customers with. The bottom line is that automation can be applied to a few different types of problems, but demo qualified lead, the qualification issue is almost a universal problem, it seems. So going back to Oracle, they did expand, and in the first 6 months of their expansion into this pre-sales and sales group, they had these very impressive results. They saved almost 13,000 hours, pre-sales man hours, and this was a team of about 20 pre-sales people. And then they expanded into their inside sales team, because really with demo automation, it's pre-sales that's building the demos, but usually the people sending and tracking the demos are the sales reps themselves, either inside sales or other types of sales reps. So you can not only more effectively qualify, but you can free up more time. They had a large product, a new product that they knew was going to generate a lot of leads. And they were able to do that without increasing their team. And so the goal is, again, how do we produce exponential results with the existing team, with each person? It's that Iron Man suit. So the way this works, demo automation, is a sales rep sends a demo to the prospect, and who often becomes a champion. And this person, the demo automatically personalizes to their unique interests. We're going to show you how all that works. And then as they engage with that, because it's highly personalized to them, they're more likely to share it with other people. They're going to go share with other people in the organization no matter what. They're going to go sell for you, and they're either going to sell poorly for you or they're going to sell more effectively for you. So since you know they're going to go talk to other people, why not give them the tools to do that effectively? So they forward this link on, engage other stakeholders, and as each stakeholder engages, the demo personalizes to their unique interests again, each one. And all this data feeds back to the sales rep and the sales team, including the pre-sales person, so that they can have more engaging live conversations. So we'll talk about this lead gate, but Oracle, as an example, started using this demo, this automated demo, as a qualification lead gate. So one particular team said, we're never ever going to send a prospect over to pre-sales, this was an inside sales team, until they've watched an automated video demo and shared it with at least one person, because then they're much more qualified. And I'll share some interesting stats on that later on. So what I want to do now is something I've never tried before, so cross my fingers, hope it works, which is I'm going to take you through what is normally a self-directed experience, but we're going to do it as a group. So let me first, give me 1 second. I need to make sure I share this the right way. Let me first play the intro video to one of our, what we call micro demos. And then I'm going to pop up a poll question, and we're going to automatically tailor the content to the unique interests of this audience. So let me just see if this will work here. So when you send a link to a given prospect, they come to what we call we call it a demo board link. And they come to this page that is a personalized entry page or landing page. So it would have the name of your prospect's company here, and then the name or names of people that you are inviting. In this case, I am inviting all you amazing pre-sales pros. So we're going to say this is you. So I'm going to click it on your behalf. And
this is an automated micro demo from Consensus. In a moment, we'll ask you to indicate your interest level in the available topics.
Sorry?
Your micro demo will dynamically stitch together a video timeline that focuses on what matters most to you.
Can everybody hear this audio? Yeah. Is it just slow?
Yeah, we can hear the audio. It just was really fuzzy for some reason. No, just the picture quality once you reshared was really fuzzy. Maybe if you tried resharing, it'll go back to normal.
Let's try it again. And this may just be a little fuzzy going through, who knows? Let's try it.
Change your selections to focus on different topics. Customize the rest of this demo in 3, 2, 1.
How was that, Taylor?
It took a minute to get back, and it wasn't anything to do with the video. It's just the resolution is really fuzzy now for some reason of your whole screen share.
Oh, of the whole screen share. Just
yeah.
maybe having internet issues. It was popping up with something about that earlier. Let me try sharing one more time. And see if that's any better. So we'll try this. If if it turns out not to work out great, we'll just kind of pause this part of the presentation. But so Taylor, if you could pop up the poll question. So basically, what we have here is the prospect typically answers this individually. What's most important to you? And so what I want you to do is indicate out of these 4 topics, just indicate whether it's that topic to you, if you're learning about consensus and demo automation, if this topic is very important, somewhat or not important to you, because this is effectively what you would do if you were going through this demo on your own. But we're going to do it as a group and see how this goes. And this is a pretty short demo. It's only a few minutes, about maybe 5 to 7 minutes long. So we'll see how well this works. So Taylor, how many people have, what percentage of people
Got about
have responded
half
so
of the
far?
participants. We're right at about half right now, but we still see some coming through.
Okay.
It's still fuzzy for some reason. Maybe if you reshared without your video, that would kill it, help it.
Okay. Okay, it does say fuzzy and readable. Okay, let me try it and see what happens here. Is that better?
It's fixed.
What do you know? Okay, I'm just gonna see, I'm gonna go back to the video and just see if that's the issue or just.
It is the issue. Yeah.
Frustrating. Okay, well, we tested this before, but so we're not sure why exactly this is.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily the issue because other things were fuzzy. It's your whole screen, but
Yeah.
we do
Okay.
have about 53%. Looks like most of the poll results have come in at this point. Can you see those results right there?
I cannot see them, so you'll need to share the results.
Okay, so let's see if I do end poll. No.
Yep.
Okay, so it looks like very important on
I think you can actually publish the results there, can't you?
Okay, let's
say
see.
share with the audience. There we go. So yeah, so very important how things personalized, 75%, building the demo, 67%, say very important, 76% on sending and tracking, 64% on dashboard and Demolitics. Okay, and a few people saying not important on some of them, which is fine too. In this case, you may want to just look at something else in the next 5 to 7 minutes if you don't want to see this. I'm going to try to do this in a little bit different way. Instead of sharing the sound, we'll just share the video and see how it goes. And I'll kind of narrate on top of it if I can do that.
Looks like you're clear again.
Okay. Crazy. All right, so very important how Consensus personalizes the demo, building your interactive automated demos. I'm going to put sending and tracking as somewhat important, just to make this a little bit shorter. And incidentally, when, as you'll find out as we go through this, when someone indicates somewhat important, you can actually serve up a shorter video clip so that you're not only helping with the sequence of things, but you're also serving up the right size of content. So it really personalizes, and it pulls in documents down here, as we'll see. So we'll say dashboards and Demolitics, for example, we'll say is somewhat important as well. So notice that it's going to start playing here in a minute. And notice that you also have the list of people that you've invited to the demo showing up over here. And this is the people you've invited in this particular opportunity. You also have custom call to actions over here. So we want people to go look at another demo about CRM integrations, maybe go calculate their ROI. And then one of the big call to actions is invite others. So we could click that if I was a participant watching this demo and share it with other stakeholders. That's how we, one of the ways that we discover and engage other stakeholders. So I'm going to click continue. And you can see what it's doing is we have 7 minutes of content based on the answers that we selected, whether it's very important or somewhat important. So I'm going to go ahead and play this and kind of narrate on top of it, because for some reason sharing my sound, computer sound, is what's causing part of the problem. So we'll see how this goes. But you can see also it's loaded documents down here that are relevant to the specific topics that you marked as very important or somewhat important. So we're going to start with deep personalization. And in an advanced branching demo, you start out with a question that might be, what role describes you best? And as they select one of the answers, it branches to a demo that is unique to that particular role. So you can personalize to the persona. Then each person indicates whether something is somewhat important or very important or not important. and it pulls in video clips and documents, and you can see it starting out with a longer clip for feature 2 because that was marked very important, and it pulls in the documents related to that. And then it's going to go over into the shorter clips on feature 1 because they mark that as somewhat important. So again, you're getting the right sequence, the very important things first and the somewhat important things later, but you get a shorter overall experience because we're pulling in shorter clips for those somewhat important. So this is what we call deep personalization, not superficial personalization, like let's input your picture or your name. I mean, that's cool, but what we really want to do is personalize the content. Well, how do we build out these video demos? So you're going to go into the demo management area, and you're going to choose different types of demos. There's single video, standard personalization, advanced branching, and you can build these out in this interactive wizard. There's no technical experience required. And once you've made your initial videos and you've pulled them in through this wizard, your demos will play on desktops and mobile devices. This is kind of inception right here. Here's my video up here. Here's my other video down here. I even wore the same shirt, so looks similar. Anyway, so what we're doing down here is in the core of it is down in this feature area, we're loading in long or short videos based on whether or not they're indicating something's very or somewhat important. And you're putting in the different features. Now we call them features, but they could be almost anything. Could be benefits, could be problem statements. So it doesn't have to be just feature related. It depends on how you like to do your demos, what stage of the buying process they're in. And we recommend that instead of doing a highly produced demo with motion graphics and a voiceover artist, that you do authentic video. This is why it's really important for pre-sales to build the demos. We actually did a test. An authentic video gets 3 times the engagement. So we like to say, when you're building out content, think YouTube, not Hollywood. So at this point, I'm showing that we have an integration and we have a partnership with ScreencastoMatic, but you can use Camtasia or WebEx or Zoom or whatever else you like to do to record your videos. But basically, every pre-sales user that uses Consensus gets a copy of a license to ScreencastoMatic, which is kind of like Camtasia, and you can record anything on your screen. And then you pull it into the editor, and there are all kinds of editing tools. And that's where the basis of the video content comes in. And then you just save that out onto your machine and pull it into the overall Consensus demo wizard and just import them there. You, of course, can brand your demo with themes and colors and logos. And so it looks and feels like your company's branding. And since I am narrating my own video here that I did not practice narrating on top of it. So what I'm showing here is that we have a Chrome plugin where you can record instantly a demo. So these are for what we call FAQ demos or closing demos, where you're just answering quick questions and you're building up a library of questions that you get from prospects rather than building a big reusable library of highly personalizable demos. These are FAQ one-off videos, and it can save you a lot of time there too. Well, once you've built the demo, how does the sales team send and track them? So yeah, you're going to choose, you're going to create what's called the demo board and choose the organization and the people. And then inside the email program, for example, we have integrations with Outlook and Gmail, for example. You go in and just insert what's called a demo board link. And there are a few different types of links that you can insert. You indicate who gets notified with team-based notifications. So that, let's say you have a BDR, an AE, and a pre-sales person that need notification on when the prospect engages. And then you send this out to the prospect. And when the prospect engages, they go to a customized landing page and they click on their name. And that's how Consensus begins tracking and sending the data back to the sales team about how this specific prospect is engaging. Now, if they forward on the link, they can click New Viewer and add themselves. And that's another way to share the demo. But as they enter the demo, they engage with the demo, they can share with others, as I was mentioning. And once that notification comes back, you can go into the Track Demo Boards area of Consensus, where, I'm just going to blow this up a little bit, where you can see which demos are engaging. In this case, 11 stakeholders engaged around this demo at Siemens, which is an actual account that we'd worked on. You can see over time, this demo got shared with many different people, and you can see that in this buyer matrix view, you can see what's very important, somewhat or not important, and see where there's alignment or misalignment in the interests of the different stakeholders. You can also drill down into specific heat maps and see where people may have watched or rewatched specific content there. So let's dive into dashboards and Demolitics portion of the demo of Consensus. And I can look at aggregate analytics, and I'm actually going to show you some of our live analytics here in just a minute. And one of the reasons I opted to do it this way is because I can't show you proprietary information from our customers, obviously, in our main dashboard. But in this particular case, we're seeing which features are marked as very important the most. I can also look at team usage Demolitics and see exactly how many demos have been sent, what the view rate is, and how many stakeholders have been discovered in a certain time period. This is in the last 30 days when we made this demo. So that's a summary of how Consensus works and how the interactive video demo works, right? So you basically experienced the interactive video demo through here with my off-the-cuff narration. So if we come back here, I just wanted to show a couple of other things that might be helpful. We're going to jump into where should you use these interactive video demos. But before that, I just want to show you a couple of views of Demolitics. So this is the demo that we just showed you, for example, is one of the main demos we use for our pre-sales audience. And you can see rising usage over time. And if we look at our overall usage across all of our demos that we send out, you can see we've sent out over the last, this is from the beginning of the year. So you see the date range up here. And we've sent out almost 6,000 demo boards. And we've had 453 hours of viewing time and an average view time of about 4.5 minutes. And these are what we call micro demos. So the early stage demos, the kind of repetitive demos that sales engineers really shouldn't be doing and can be handled by technology. I also want to show, let's see, if we go into a specific demo, we can see what is marked as very important, somewhat important, and not important in aggregate. So we've got these tactical analytics that help us see exactly where, what is most interesting to people in a specific sales opportunity. And then we have these aggregate analytics that we can see over time. This is from June 1st, 2019 until today. You can see building your interactive automated demos is marked very important the most out of all of our topics. That makes sense because we're targeting the pre-sales. So this can be really helpful in terms of helping you know how to engage and what to emphasize as you engage with your audience in the marketplace as well. So there's the tactical Demolitics, what we call Demolitics, and then the aggregate Demolitics. So that's all the time we're going to spend in the actual platform. There's a lot more we could say there, but that gives you a little taste of the platform. I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes on a few topics about where we use interactive video demos in the sales process. and then we'll get into some Q&A. So one of the main concepts we like to talk about is selling a gap. So you remember that graphic from Gartner that shows that we only get 17% of their time, or maybe less. What are you doing in between? Well, this is a simplified buying process where we have an initial BDR reaching out, and then a sales appointment, and then at some point we have a pre-sales technical demo, and then some closing appointments and so on. Well, the question is, what are you doing in between? What are the salespeople doing in between? And there are different types of demos, which, by the way, there's a separate webinar if you want to go check it out on our website called 6 Demo Types and Where They Belong. And we would just recommend that if you're going to get into demo automation, and even if you aren't, you should be thinking about the types of demos that you provide at different stages of the buying process, because giving a highly technical demo early in the sales process, as most of us know, is not very helpful. But this just helps you see what kinds of demos might go in different places. And for example, if you send a micro demo in between a BDR call and the appointment, before that appointment, if they engage, then there's actually some interesting results that happen. So if they watch it before that first appointment, they're 34% more likely to become an opportunity. And if they watch it, share it with at least one person, and the other stakeholders, they're 81% more likely to become an opportunity. So not only that, but think about how it shortens the sales cycle if they're watching these demos in between, and how, if you have all that data coming in and you've engaged those stakeholders, how that initial engagement with pre-sales is fundamentally different. So we not only have better qualified people showing up, engaging with pre-sales, but they're better educated, they're ready to dive into specifics, and you have data about what's driving their interests. So in summary, this is just an example. There's a division inside ADP that in the first 90 days they did this split test, and these were the results, that when they used interactive or intelligent demo automation, their close rates went up 27%, and their sales cycle actually went down dramatically. And that sales cycle is one of the best examples we've seen. A lot of times you're going to see your sales cycle reduced 20 to 35%. So 68% is kind of an outlier, but it's still an amazing example. And this division actually got sold to private equity, and they're now just kind of a separate mid-market company, but they're still with us today. So that concludes the formal part of my presentation. I'm happy to take a few questions.
You have several questions that are already in the Q&A. One is, it would be helpful to know if there are any features to help mitigate those recording demos getting out into competitors' hands.
Oh yeah, that's a really important question. We get that question a lot. Just how do you help? You put these videos out there. How do you make sure, or at least reduce the chance that competitors are going to see those videos? There are a number of different ways to do that. Without getting into all the details, you can set up types of passwords. You can actually kill the demo after so many views. So you might say, hey, you get one shot to view this. Once you view it, it's dead. So those are some examples. You also can restrict sharing. So you can make it so they can only share within their own email domain, and nobody outside of that email domain can enter. Some things like that. So hopefully that's helpful. If you want to dive into that more, we can certainly engage offline.
Great. Another question. This is about video creation. They mentioned, do authentic demos include PowerPoint slides or whiteboarding? My team is hung up on adding PowerPoint slides to micro videos that are 3 minutes long. Any advice? Great
question. Really what goes in the demo depends on the stage of the buying process that the buyer is in. So yes, a micro demo could include PowerPoint slides. It could include some whiteboarding. Whatever you think is most pertinent at that stage of the buying process. So it's whatever's on your screen, and you have to decide what's the best content. So I recommend going and watching the 6 demo types video, webinar video on our website. We spent an hour talking about the different types of demos, the type of content, how much how much should be product oriented, how much value prop. Early on in a vision stage demo, it might be almost all PowerPoint with a couple of screenshots, because it's not really a demo the way we think of it. Peter Cohen initially called those vision demos, I think, and we use that term. But then you get into micro demos where they're past the vision, they catch the vision, they want more content, more product content, but they're not ready for a deep dive technical. They just want 15 or 20 minutes of how does the product work? Just they want to see if they like it, if it matches the vision they have in their head of where it's all going. So, so there's a lot we could talk about there in terms of content strategy and what goes on and what should go in those videos. And that's part of our own sales process, by the way, is we have a content strategy discussion. But anyway, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, on that topic, while you're there, someone's asking, can you describe how long in minutes are vision, micro, or qualifying or closing demos?
Yeah. So it does depend on your specific, audience, or rather your company. But let me pull up a slide that can help. If you give me just a second, I'll share that. So again, the six demo types webinar has all these slides and more. But let me pull up this one slide that I think will be helpful. So in this slide, we get just a little brief description about the differences between the different types of demos. And the 6 types are vision, micro, qualifying, or what we call often call the standard demo, technical demo, closing demos, and then these FAQ demos. So this one gives you some view into that. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah, while you're on this slide, one person is asking, would you recommend automating all demos, or is there some that you wouldn't automate?
Great question. And I covered this in the scaling pre-sales topic yesterday. But in general, and it will, you'll have to decide, but in general, we recommend automating as much as possible the vision demo, the micro demo, the standard demo, and the closing and FAQ demos, so that you leave the technical demos, you free up as much time as possible for your sales engineering experts to focus on preparing for and delivering technical demos, great POCs, things like that, in the solution consulting, conversations, discovery. So yes, we recommend trying to automate them. Now, not everybody's going to engage with an automated demo in the way that you want. View rates are often between 25 and 40%. So a good view rate is 30, 33%. So that means 1 out of 3 is engaging, let's say, on average. But think about how powerful that is, that you can engage that many. You can, even if you automated a third of your demos, how much time that would give you in doing more, freeing up some of that time, I should say, for higher quality activities.
Okay. Well, we have about 2 minutes before we need to jump off and go to the next session. I've made a note of all the questions we didn't get to, and I will send you a quick email response as an answer to all of those if you'd like. And Garin, is there anything else you wanted to make sure we covered before we start to sign off and jump on to the next session?
I'll just share one other thing that some people found helpful in another presentation. It is kind of the time ROI. So how do you say 10 hours a week for your sales engineer? So let's just say it's 3 hours a week spent per demo, 30 minutes spending answering questions. So you've got per question, and then you've got, let's say, 3 automated demos per week and 10 automated question responses per week. Maybe you're saving 40 hours a month, right? So how much time does it save to, how much time does it take to build out these demos? For example, and I know I'm kind of blitzing through this, but just to get your mind thinking, if it takes 4 hours to create each automated demo and maybe 30 minutes to create an automated question response, so you start building up those libraries of FAQ demos. And so you create 3 interactive video demos and 10 FAQ demos. Maybe takes you 17 hours to do that over, let's say, a month, that you spend some extra time building those out, and you save 492 hours of time in that year. So that's just one way to think about it. So again, our goal is really to help make you more effective. It's that Iron Man suit, right? Not to replace sales engineers, but really to amp up their productivity. So that'd be my parting message, I guess.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks, Garin. I'm going to grab the screen share back from you. And just wanted to show this really quick. Our next session is going to be a pre-sales panel and some giveaways. So if you'd like to join that, the link should be in your email for you to be able to jump on and take a look at that. That said, if you don't have the link, if you go to demofest2020.com, there's links to each of these that you can jump on whether you're registered or not so that you can easily view them all. And thanks so much for everyone joining today.
Thanks, everybody.